A large majority of us can relate to depression. It's a time in your life that isn't just a moment, and it's not even like a week. It's a long period of time of just deep despair where you don't know how to carry on, you don't know what to do. And I think you could look all over the internet to find a definition, but one definition that I found for me that kind of encompasses the whole thing is depression is a long season of loss, where you lose your appetite, you lose your desires, you lose your interests in the things that used to give you life before. You just lose them. And it's a dark place that maybe you can relate to. So if you find yourself in that season where you feel like you've lost your interest in everything, you don't hang out with the people you used to anymore, you don't do the hobbies that you used to have, and you basically just find yourself in this season of just loss, you need to know how you got there is not by some sudden moment that just propelled you into this season of darkness. It's actually a slow fade. It can start with something that is, gradual. It can start with something that has a lot of significance. Maybe a circumstance happened in your life that led to this slide, but at the end of the day, it's a slow fade, and it involves a lot of chemicals that go with it. And that's the tricky part, is that it's not just something where you say, okay, snap out of it, because now you're chemically involved. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong, and they bring a lot of pain and hurt to people because they come from a perspective that doesn't acknowledge the fact of the matter that your chemicals are very much invested in this darkness. And the way that the chemicals seem to work, at least what I've noticed in my life, is that I start to find myself believing a lie that just is in a normal season I would be able to recognize that's just not true. But in that despair, it becomes true, so then I believe it and I attach my life to it, and that's what begins this slow fade into this dark abyss that ultimately leaves you feeling broken and alone and asking what's the meaning and the point of life. And then you're not really sure what to do with it, so it kind of freaks you out more, right? You're freaking out about the feelings that you have, but then you don't really understand the feelings, and so then that makes you freak out even more, and it leaves you in this position where you just feel like you have to pretend to carry on. You go through maybe your job and you're smiling and waving on the outside, but internally you're a mess, and you're screaming out for help, but no one's listening, or no one can hear you. Everybody responds to depression differently. Some people will try to escape with substances. Other people will isolate themselves from everyone around them. But at the end of the day, what I want you to kind of get is that it's normal. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but it really is. If you look at the scriptures and you see all the people throughout the Bible that are pillars of the faith for us, you see how they struggled with the same things that you and I struggle with. In fact, Paul says that everything that was written is for our encouragement and our instruction. So whenever I look at Jeremiah and I see the weeping prophet, or I see Hannah who had an eating disorder and was in deep depression because she couldn't have a baby, Elijah who even wanted to kill himself, I can find deep encouragement because I know that I'm not alone. And what I can pull from all those people that have gone before us is that all of them had a decision to make. The decision was either they were going to trust themselves and take matters into their own hands, or they were going to put their trust in God. And David says this in Psalms. He says, "Why are you downcast, O my soul? Hope in God." And I think that's really the battle in the midst of the darkness, is are you going to choose to trust and put your hope in God or not? And I think for you and me, that fight is incredibly important, because it determines if we're going to get up and we're going to change our situations, or we're going to stay in the pit. The beauty of the hope that we have is that it's unshakable. When everything in our life gets shaken, our family gets shaken, our circumstances suck and they're shaken, our hope will never be shaken. And God gives us a promise that when we choose to trust Him and put our hope in Him, we'll never be put to shame. And I want to speak to medicine for a second, because I think that there are a lot of people that have this viewpoint that medicine is evil, and I don't necessarily believe that. I believe that when you're in that pit, your chemicals are off balance. And when medicine is used properly, it's designed to help your chemicals get back in balance so that you can make decisions that help get you out of the pit. But here's the problem, is that many people with medicine, they put their hope in medicine. Medicine can't save you. Medicine can't get you out of this pit. It can be a tool that God uses to get you out, but at the end of the day, if you choose to put your hope in medicine, you'll continue to be disappointed. Because your hope for a better future, your hope for joy and life more abundantly is only found in Jesus. And He says this, and this is what me and my wife have held on to for years now, is that He works all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purposes. I can't tell you how many times Bree and I have rehearsed that verse to each other over and over again in times where we weren't sure how we were going to pay the bills, or we weren't sure what we were going to do at this circumstance. We just kept saying, you work all things together for our good. You work all things together for our good. You are good, and you work things all together for my good. And so, wherever you're at today, I want to encourage you that just because chapter 3 sucks and it's really dark, doesn't mean chapter 5's not coming. I want to encourage you to put your hope in God, trust Him, and let's walk out of the pit together.